Hi there, my name's Gary Turner. I'm your host of this Right Here, Right Now live exploration. And what's it all about? It's one simple question. What's on your heart and mind right here, right now in this moment? We just explore with curiosity, with open-heartedness, and with a real desire to better understand one another. Really exploring the depths and breadths of our humanity through that one simple question. This tune, Kaleidoscope, was created for me by the amazing Peter Griffiths, one half of The Mind Takeaway. Hello, and welcome to the Right Here, Right Now live show. And welcome, Amara. How are you today?
Hello. Hi, Gary. Lovely to be here.
Thank you for joining me. And for anyone that may have seen the post already about today's conversation, Amara and I met for the first time last week, and it was like, boom.
Yeah, it was really cool. Just discovering and coming up with new ideas just from freestyle talking about life and work and what that looks like. So that was really amazing what happened in terms of the ideas that we came up with.
Well, I'm really curious to find out how that may be the seed or maybe something completely different today. So let me start. People will find out more about you as we go. But The question today is, so what is on your heart and mind right here, right now in this moment, Amara? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm really passionate about making the workplace human. And what's on my heart is really that. It's about how do we create workplaces, or how can we turn the workplace into a work community? How can we, lose the formality, if I may say so, and just really be human, be ourselves. I think when you're allowed to be yourself, you have the tendency to really do great things. And when you're pretending and covering and every other thing people do, and we all do at work, we kind of stifle our creativity, we stifle our beingness, if I can say that. And so I really think it's extremely important to think about how we can now begin to humanize the workplace. And I know that that's happening. I know that there's this, of course, with the DEI push, a lot of people are being more open and workplaces are relaxing a bit. And of course, they have to with COVID and the whole pandemic situation. But I think really allowing people to be themselves, for me, I think it's extremely important. And how we get there is that conversation about that, workplace community. How do we get that going? Yeah.
So cool. Such a big topic. And I think I'm looking forward to exploring this with you the next half an hour, Amara. Sure. I guess what I'm really intrigued about is, where does your passion for humanizing the work come from? Is there a particular experiences or just a belief system that you hold that makes this really important to you?
I think it's more of a belief system, just because I know that when you're allowed to be yourself, you can do amazing things. But when you're hiding, a lot of times at work, I feel like there's a huge difference. So the workplace is one place, and then the home life and the private life, they're all separate. And so you're constantly having to act differently in all these spaces. But what if we could just be ourselves, regardless of where we are? Like, couldn't we just be ourselves? And what could happen if we had the opportunity to really be ourselves, our authentic selves, whether we're at home, with our friends, or at work? I mean, and what if the workplace was really a place where we had one singular goal, and that we knew exactly what we were going to do to achieve that, working together, with our colleagues, our teammates, why can't that be? So I think that's extremely important that we move towards that, destination, if you will. And for me, I just like to be myself. I like to have fun. I like to connect with people, and I don't think that the workplace should be a place where that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Oh, now you got me. I love that last thing. Why should the workplace be a place where that doesn't happen? So isn't it bizarre? It's like in your own life, with your family, with your friends, with the community group, your netball team. Like, the default is connection, so that you can reach that goal of winning the game or building relationships. Yeah, actually, it's almost like in the workplace, it's the opposite. It's like, let's make sure we disconnect.
Yeah.
it's such an interesting lens, Amara.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, why not? I work for the Norwegian Refugee Council, and the great thing about my team is that, I mean, it's incredible because I don't think this is. I mean, I don't know if it's common. I'm not in all the other teams in our organization, but I can tell you that in our team, we really are very connected and we're friends. And, you know, I don't know, we just have a really special connection. And I think we're able to work well together. And, you know, I think leading that is our you know, our boss, our line manager, who just is a very warm person. And even, you know, he's able to still deliver as a leader, but he does that with humanity, like with humanness, you know, and that makes you just want to show up. It makes you want to go the extra mile, you know, and yeah, I think that should be the norm. It shouldn't be the exception. It shouldn't be a special thing, you know. It should be the norm, right? So I'm really on a crusade to humanize the workplace. And I can tell you, Gary, I read a book by Judith Glaser, and she talks about, you know, the communication IQ and or conversation IQ. And I just think that, you know, that's really the key. Conversations. Like if you can have conversational intelligence, right? Because at the end of the day, everything we do is really based on our communication, one-to-one communication. When we are at work, we're not just silent, you know, working on our own. We have to communicate via email, meetings. What if those communication, like the conversations we're having, were psychologically safe and were really about bringing people in, and maybe we're using more inclusive language, and really people felt, you know, when they're having this conversation, they don't feel pushed back, they don't feel antagonized, or I mean, a lot can be found in the way we communicate, in the way we have conversations. So what if we just learned how to have those communications, the conversations that really cause people to feel connected, to help people to like feel like they belong, right? As opposed to where there's this disconnection that you mentioned. Yeah.
It's so interesting. So I'm joining the dots on a few things you shared really powerfully with me. First of all, Amara, that, you know, your line manager where you work right now, because he role models his humanity, it invites you to show up fully.
Totally.
Like,
Absolutely.
and I think this is really important for people to hear who was watching us now or in the future. Like, there's a business, not that it's the forefront runner, but just for those people that are like, but a bit soft, it's a little bit weak to be this sort of human leader. You'll get better outcomes by being a human leader. And I think this is the bit that gets missed, I think, Amara, somehow. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that the human leader, what was it? I think it was someone called it the compassionate leader. I don't know if it was Jacinda who talked about that, like, you know, the compassionate leader, right? The Prime Minister for New Zealand. And, you know, and I think that's, I mean, why not? Why is the word like compassion and vulnerability such a scary word? Like, I mean, aren't we human? We're human, right? Like what, I don't know what happened or where the idea that we have to be this concrete person or concrete personality when we're working, you know. Why can't we be warm? Why can't we share and care? I mean, my work really is also in education. And I think why can't teachers really care about their students, right? And why can't employees or line managers, for example, really care about the people that work for them? I mean, I think, or work with them. It's a huge difference. I think if somebody showed you care and they really took a deep interest in making sure you succeed, because the way it works in the workplace is, your line manager is there to really guide you and to make sure you succeed and, you know, mentor you along the way. So can you imagine if your line manager is really providing this space for you to really develop into your, you know, full potential, and you have that experience? I mean, work wouldn't be so horrible or frightening or saddening, you know. It would be enthusiastic and you'd be energized, and going to work would be fun. Why shouldn't it be that way? It should be fun going to work, right? Yeah.
I love that so much. And again, what I love is how you just bring this amazing energy to humanizing the workplace. But again, it's not this, it is with play. We should be playing, we should be having a laugh, we should be enjoying work. But it's also, again, we're going to get better outcomes. Like, and this is the bit I keep trying to say through these shows and these conversations, Amara, is, at what point do we give ourselves, and I'm talking senior leaders, you know, executive committee members, etc., for those that don't quite realize this Yeah, how do we reach those people? What's the bridge or the path we need to lay out for those that just really don't quite believe in humanizing work at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, of course, these are very traditional ways of being, right? So this is, tradition. Traditionally, the workplace has a certain kind of culture, but that's changing. I mean, I think that a lot of the tech companies are completely changing that, narrative. But I think what would maybe move, executives and so forth to think about bringing this element of vulnerability, of humanity to the workplace, of really building a community, a work community. I think they would need to see the results. I guess, the data always speaks for itself, right? So it would be about, okay, maybe now we see that, mental health is really being boosted at work when people feel connected, when they see that when their numbers tied to that, then perhaps, because people always want to know, okay, so what's my bottom line? Like, how is this helping my bottom line? And until they see that link, I think people are just a bit skeptical. But it makes sense. If you have an organization or you're working in a company where you feel connected, where you feel supported, you're going to want to go to work. You're not going to fall sick and have all this stress, right? And it just improves because you're at work more and you're doing something that you're really passionate about, and you're able to contribute in your own way. I mean, that's a huge step, and I think that we should be able to see that. People should see that, and recognize that if I'm whole and if I'm able to be myself at work, then I can bring my whole self to making sure that my work is excellent and that I'm doing well, right? Yeah.
It's really, really nice, Amara, what you're showing there. So
Thank you.
where I go with this piece now is really interesting. So I always try and look at like the edge case. So actually, why,
Sure.
how do we try and reach those people that maybe are afraid or just don't believe in care as a way of leading yet?
Yeah.
And I try and think about different questions. So for example, one I've heard recently, and I love your thoughts on this, is it's almost like trying to get a senior leader to say, okay, would you, based on your current leadership style, would you allow your 16-year-old daughter to work for you in the way that you currently lead? So I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of sort of storytelling with this as well, is how do we, rather than waiting just for the evidence, which is important, but that might be a 1, 2, 3 year lag. What stories or what questions can we be asking that may elicit something inside of these leaders that makes them go, oh my God, no, I don't want to be that type of leader anymore, because I wouldn't want my daughter to work for me. Do you know what I mean? I wonder what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah, that's a nice point. That's a nice perspective that you bring there. Yeah, storytelling. That's important. I think, when people feel, if we could get people to talk about experiences, I mean, there are companies and organizations that are at the forefront of this, right? So even just sharing stories of how the workplace is changing, and sometimes there are organizations that are also changing. Sometimes it's the way the workplace is arranged, or the fact that we're now working predominantly at home, right? We're all working from home, and having to change that dynamic and making sure that we're carrying people along, and we're still able to create community from working from home. Yeah, I don't know, stories. Maybe just creating stories, showing how people are able to do outstanding work and still have that connection. That could be one way, just sharing people's stories. Yeah.
What I really love as well, so the two words that keep popping up, which is fascinating, is connection and community. And those two have popped up an awful lot, and when we've spoken so far. So I'm really interested with your work and the work that you're doing, Amara. How do you see those two things being connected, community and connection?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm an international trainer, and I also work within the field of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So my research work is also focused on helping teachers be better prepared to teach culturally diverse classrooms. And that means at the core of it, it's about community. So for example, when I'm training, the first thing I think about is, how do I build community? How do I make sure people feel comfortable and feel very open, right, to working with me and really creating something fantastic in terms of the training or the workshop that I'm running. And I think the same thing goes for the workplace. And if we just, day-to-day work, the day-to-day business, just, how do we bring, my idea is like, how do we bring that energy in to a point where people really feel open and people really feel safe? Like, I keep thinking about this idea of psychological safety, like really creating a workplace where people feel safe to be themselves. And in doing that, it then, fosters this feeling of community. And so for me, I'm really, really passionate about bringing that ideology to the workplace, and really not just an HR thing, but it should really be part of every department, part of every team, that maybe line managers need to get trained on how to, have this conversational intelligence, and that they're able to recognize what it means to have a team that's psychologically safe to be themselves, to ask questions, to be critical, So those are the things that I'm really interested in, not only in the school space, but also in the workplace. I think that's extremely powerful when we empower leaders to begin to think about mental health of our employees, and how can we really get them to feel a certain kind of ownership and connection to what they're doing, because that just takes it to the next level when you're doing something from your heart, when you're doing something because you're passionate about it, not because you have to show up from 8 to 5, right? Yeah,
that's really lovely. And I the thing I'm thinking about now, actually, Amara, is this: putting myself in the shoes of that busy middle manager who's like got a big heart, got a family, sort of knows in their body that this is the way to lead, but they're just under so much pressure, so many KPIs. They're being told they've got to do A, B, and C. Right. Is there something in this around that? Is it something about top-down role modeling? Is it something about intentional creation of space? I'm wondering what are some of the sort of leverage points that we need to be really, really clear about to make sure that this can happen?
Yeah, that's a good point you raised there. But I think it's both of them, right? I think it's the space, and it's also the modeling, right? I mean, so if your CEO is not modeling, these behaviors, then what gives you sometimes, well, there are two perspectives. One is this bottom-up ideology, like you don't need to wait for the CEO to, show you, and you can do it yourself. But really, I think it's the culture, it's the company culture, and what dictates the company culture, right? So it's all the leaders, it's line managers, it's middle managers, it's the CEO, and all the people in leadership positions are basically welding the culture of the organization. And if the culture is such that people feel connected, if it's part of their value that we want to be in a place where people can really show up, and we want to be a place that supports our staff to do the best work, because we know that just helps us even deliver in our services for those who need our services, right? So having that understanding, and then that would then enable management to create those enabling environment, like to create those spaces that really help bring people together and achieve what we're talking about. So I really think it's both creating the space and also having that modeling from the top. I think that's, absolutely. I think if you could marry both of them, it would be magical, right?
I love this. So Rich Gasson, thanks for joining us, Rich. Rich says, great conversation. Thanks, Gary and Amara. You should connect Amara with Heather Younger. Are you connected to Heather Younger yet, Amara?
No.
Okay, this is a great idea. So Heather Younger is the author of a book called The Art of Caring Leadership. She's based in the US, and Rich is a big advocate of the book and Heather's work, and I'm actually one of Heather's caring leadership coaches as well, as part of the community. Right. So I think Rich is spot on. You two definitely do need to know each other. So there's an invitation coming if you're open to it, Amara.
I'm absolutely open. Thank you, Rich. That was super nice of you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Because there is something, isn't there? For me, anyway, there's something exponential about our ability as humans to connect on this level you're speaking about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if we think about it, logically, even if you want to think logically from a head level about if we're all coming into work like robots with our masks on, with our fears, with our I'm not going to show up fully, all that is suppression of potential. It's like pushing it down. Like imagine all of that just going.
Wow, I really like that. I love the image, the imagery. So it's a suppression, right? It is. You're literally suppressing potential, right? When you're going to the workplace as a robot, like, okay, I have to do this, right? I have to do this. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We need to change that. We need to change that culture. The idea of caring, that should be part of every organizational ethos. Caring. We should come back to that, because at the end of the day, we're human, and we're humans with feelings, with heart. We have to connect to that. And if you connect to that, great things will happen. I mean, you could just think about every wonderful or great creation, or I don't know, whatever feat has ever been accomplished in this world has always been connected to heart, to passion, right? So yeah.
You've got my whole of my back of my neck is like, oh god, oh my god. No, but it's beautiful because there's something I'm working on at the moment, Amara, which is this idea of the human exponential organization, and what I'm feeling into is exactly what you just said. Like, how can you care for another human being if you don't know how to feel yourself? That's a question I'm asking myself a lot at the moment.
Powerful. Yeah.
Because we've not been taught, we've been taught to suppress. We've been taught that don't get close to that person. Like, show them that you're in control. Make sure that you're, that nothing about education, nothing about even my family upbringing has been about role model feeling first.
Wow, that is, that's powerful. Like, that got me, like, really, wow, that's so powerful. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, the thing is, you can't give what you don't have, right? You can't, can you? So we definitely have to recognize what that is in order to give of it, or to even recognize that we have it and to open it, and to just kind of unleash that what do you call it? That spring, né? The spring of caring, the spring of connecting with our fellow human. I think that, and that's really the key, actually, when you think about that. It's just being able to, when you look inwardly and you connect with that thing inside of you, that there's abundance there. And the moment we let ourselves be vulnerable and not have to be, oh, I want to be this powerful person and be in control and in charge, like, which is how a lot of people think, right? The only way I'm going to get things done is if I look like this. And no. So if we could just be vulnerable, it still comes back to what Brene Brown talks about, this, this idea of vulnerability. The moment we open up, it's just incredible what we can do in terms of connecting with people and really tapping into that space. It's really powerful, and I think it's underutilized. If we could just be more open and be more human, and if we could just bring this to the workplace, you could just imagine what happy people at work would look like. Yeah.
It's so good. I'm just going to do a quick share, actually. This has been completely unprompted, this conversation. So the Value Through Vulnerability podcast that I had for 2.5 years has 138 episodes, all about vulnerability, courage, listening. It's a resource that's sitting on your favorite podcast platform. Go use it. If this is new to you, Amara and I's invitation here is go and practice, go and digest, find someone that you can practice. Because for me, these are all muscles.
Absolutely.
Amara, like we've all got it already. It's just more a case of just practicing. Would you agree or disagree with that? Or
I 100%, 2000% agree. Yes, it is. It's a muscle. It is. You've got to practice it. You've got to, because anything you work on in practice just keeps getting better and better, right? So yeah, it's vulnerability is practice. You have to just practice not being afraid, trusting that you'd be okay if you opened up, and recognizing that that's the only way to really build sustainable relationships, the only way to really build the kind of workplace that would really inspire people to create and to connect, right? So it's tapping into that. That's really the superpower. Absolutely.
Cool. Oh my God. Honestly, you're sending off my head in different like buzzy directions. It's like,
Well, I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that.
I mean it though, Amara, because the thing is, when you allow, and again, I want to put it clear to anyone that's watching live, like I was not, I totally suppressed emotion after adolescent bullying till I was 39, 5 years ago. Like totally just did not allow myself to feel in a meaningful way. But what I can assure you of is the last few years, as I've been coached and supported to truly embrace that vulnerability and listening and connecting. I love how you just spoke to it is an abundant energy. Like there is nothing restrictive within our body. Our body is ready to continue to give and give and give as long as we are looking after it.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It is. And that's the beauty of it. When we tap into that, it just, it continues to reinvigorate us, right? So the more we share, the more we have. The more we share, the more we have. So it's definitely something that we need to foster, and also in the workplace, which is kind of where I really am passionate about. Because we spend so much time in the workplace. We're not just time, we spend years in the workplace, Can you imagine if you're like working in a place for over 15 years and you're just carrying this stress? It's detrimental, can be very detrimental. If you're not working in a place that is supportive, and if you don't really feel like you belong and you have to cover all the time, right? So yeah.
Stunning. So we're coming into the last 5 minutes, and I want us to, this is what happens with you and me, right?
Fast.
Second conversation, 25 minutes, rabbit hole. Tell us a little bit more about, and again, this is an in the moment question, but you've spoken about the sort of workplace community, what do we need to do? Actionable steps as we wrap up, invitations to people that might watch this back. What are 1 or 2 steps, actionable steps that people could take to try and build more community within the workplace? Any sort of immediate thoughts that come to mind?
I mean, I think that, we start with sensitization, right? So, workshops, that's a great way. Workshops, seminars, these kinds of programs can really help, open people's eyes, if you will, and just really bring a certain level of awareness. So I would definitely say, awareness raising, whether it's through workshops or inviting a speaker, or because if you've never heard of it before, if you've never seen it in action, if you've never seen, if you're completely in the dark, then you wouldn't know, right? So I think those workshops would be a great place to start. Just anything that has to do with awareness raising, that would be definitely a great place to start. And of course, reading books. I mean, yeah, I'm a big advocate.
No, that's lovely. I really love that because, excuse me, what's another word for awareness? Consciousness.
Yes,
and I just think, if we can think of it, how do we raise the consciousness levels of ourselves and our organizations? And we can only do that together. Back to community. You can't do it on your own.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We're back, right? We've just, completed the cycle there, or the circle. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's consciousness, community, C&C.
Oh, okay. Next conversation is being lined up here right now. Amara, I've been sharing your LinkedIn details. Any other details you want to share with anyone about how they can reach you, or anything you're working on? Any other offers you may have? How can people sort of engage?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn would be the best place to reach me. Just send me a message on LinkedIn. I will, definitely respond. And I have a website. It's called Ignite to Transform, so you can also find me there. But LinkedIn is a great place, and I look forward to making more connections and connecting with people, and building this community. Right, Gary?
I love this so much. So we've got StreamYard doesn't always show us. So sorry that you're an anonymous user at the moment, but love this conversation. Thank you for joining us. And Rich popped back as well. Say, Amara is your soul sister, Heather. Regarding human leadership, you must connect for everyone's benefit. And it's true. Like that, if nothing else from this conversation, you meet Heather Younger, trust me, the world's going to be a better place because of that connection. And my world is a better place because of our connection. Truly. So Amara, thank you for your time. Thank you if you joined us today or you join us in the future.
Absolutely.
You can see that, like, like Amara's just amazing. You can see why I had to get her on this show.
You're so kind. Thank
Keep
you.
doing your amazing work, and thank you, Amara. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, have a good one.
Thank
Stay
you. Thank you
safe.
so much, Gary. Thank you.
No, thank you, Amara. We'll definitely do this again. There will now be a little bit of a finishing off video for 2 minutes. Don't feel you have to stay on, Amara, but if you do, it'd be lovely to say goodbye.
I will.
And everybody, much love. Stay safe and care about each other. Care. C-A-R-E.
Care.
Cheers, Amara. Take care.
Cheerio.
Are you someone that leads other human beings and knows in their body that there is a better, more healthy way to organize ourselves in the workplace, but we just don't find the time or just don't find the capacity to be able to reimagine what that could look and feel like? Or maybe you personally have suppressed feeling within the workplace. I did it for many, many years, based on childhood trauma. We don't always realize the power of the stories that we tell ourselves in our mind. And sometimes having third-party support to allow ourselves to think for ourselves, as ourselves, without any interruption, can be the key to unlocking so much potential, both within ourselves, but also in how we lead others. So I'm here, Gary Turner, as someone to offer that space to you as a thinking partner, on demand or over a fixed number of sessions. And should that be of interest to you, please do check out my Calendly link, and I'd love to have an exploratory conversation with you to see if we're a good fit. Until then, I hope you enjoy these insights from my previous podcast engagements.